So the big question is this: how these entrepreneurs who started from scratch and had no idea how to sell or market their products or services online and then later on made over 6 figures, 7 figures or even 8 figures became best in their niches and found their dream customers to sell. My name is RJ Ahmed and find this all out in our Interviews with Entrepreneurs show. I interviewed these entrepreneurs and tried to pick their brain of how they actually did that and how they took their business as well as their life to the next level. This podcast is all about the entrepreneurs who strive so hard to become super awesome in their niches. Welcome to Interviews with Entrepreneurs. Welcome to Interviews with Entrepreneurs show, where we interview entrepreneurs who are super awesome in their niches. You might have noticed that my voice is a bit changed because I have a flu from probably a week or so, but that's okay. It's all about imperfect action. So today's guest is all about relations. And if you've ever been following me from a while, since even I started the show, my show was all around building relationship with those people out there that I love to hang out with. But this guy have like a different set of like how he's actually doing it. If you're in the space and you heard the word relation and you don't hear about him, like I don't know where you are at the moment. So this man his unique proposition of like return on relation ROR. People call him Mr. ROR as well. He built a relation with the top entrepreneurs in our space with his unique way, actually. So please welcome today, Christophor Vos.
Hey, glad to be
Hey,
here. Thanks for having me.
thanks, man, for being on the show. I'm super excited today.
As I watch your intro video, I actually, RJ, I got a little emotional. I'm seriously, I could feel some emotions, some wet eyes coming on because I just seen some of the people that you've interviewed, just in your video, just watching in your intro video, people that you've interviewed, and I'm like, wow, this is great. I'm like, this is cool. So I'm humbled to be able to be here and be interviewed by you because you've interviewed some pretty amazing people. I know that in your intro video, that was just a little taste of people that you've had the opportunity to be able to interview. I know that you've interviewed Dave Woodward, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
just so many other people, and just these are incredible individuals that are changing the world. And so I'm honored to be here and love the opportunity to be able to speak with you.
Awesome, awesome. I'm super excited to have you in order to talk about one of the most important thing, which is relations. But before that, if people are under the rock and they don't know kind of a brief backstory, like could you walk through a little bit of it, like how you got started, how you got into the world of relations last 5 years ago? So like just walk through a bit of it for the people out there.
Absolutely. So my entrepreneurial journey. So I was a marketing director for a company, and I did all the marketing. So I did radio, TV, newspaper, direct mail, and I helped promote their products. And so my background is in marketing. I graduated with a
Hmm.
marketing degree from Michigan State University. I'm a father of 9. So I have 9 children. My oldest is, sorry, I get this wrong, and I apologize to my children, but around 26 years old. My youngest is 7, and I'm married to my best friend and sweetheart. And so my background is in marketing, and I got introduced into the digital marketing world by watching a webinar by Russell Brunson. I don't know how, I clicked on an ad or something. I did something to make ClickFunnels give me an ad somewhere, and I clicked on it and I watched an interview watched a webinar by Russell Brunson. And as I say, if you're in the digital marketing world and you haven't heard of Russell Brunson, then you clearly live underneath a rock or you're in a cave and you never
Yeah.
come out. So I watched that. I watched that webinar, and it got me drawn into that world of digital marketers. And I continued with my day job, and then I started a podcast called Father of 9, and the podcast talked about parenting and just how to be a better parent, how to be a better husband. And then along that process, I started to reach out to individuals and try and connect and build a relationship with them. And so I was doing this. And the cool thing about it is, as I did it, people were responding. I mean, people were acknowledging me. People were, reaching out back to me. And I want to start off this interview by saying there's a really great quote by Dale Carnegie, and I'm going to change the words in it, but let me tell you what the quote is first. It says, you can gain more friends by showing interest in them for 2 months than spending 2 years having them try to get interested in you. And there's so much value in that. Dale Carnegie is real, Win Friends and Influence People, just a really famous person. But his concept is so key that if you just take 2 months and you spend time showing interest in others versus taking 2 years saying, look at me, look at me, look at me. I mean, it's like you, RJ, spending 2 years having someone say, look at me, look at me, look at me. Or if RJ was like, I'm going to spend 2 months just showing interest to others, you'll gain more friends. And so I like to take the word friends and pull that out and say, you can gain more joint ventures, more business opportunities, more podcast interviews, more people on your podcast, more of you on their podcast, more business opportunities. Doors of opportunities will fly open if you show interest in others. So it's kind of a long answer, but I got to give you the backstory. So I started to think about, hey, this relationship building thing is really working. And I was talking with somebody one time that was doing a free coaching call with me. And his name's Mario. And I was telling Mario about all the success that I've had about building relationships. And he goes, Christopher, this is the most passionate time I've seen your face light up more than it ever has as you've been teaching me about what it is that you're doing. He goes, you need to teach this. You need to put this in a course. You need to teach people how to do this. People need this. And I'm like, hey, that's kind of a really cool idea. So I started giving it some thought. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I want to put this together. And so that is what led me to putting together a course, which I call the ROR method, which is the return on relationship method. And it is a method. It's a process. Some people, RJ, they're not good at connecting or building relationships. It's just not part of it. It makes them very uncomfortable. And so, anytime you're uncomfortable with something, or if you're not good at something, you can go to somebody else and say, okay, show me how to do it. Show me the process. And if you give me a step-by-step process, it's like anything in life. If you want to get really big and strong, you can go to a person and say, okay, here's the actual workout that you need to do. Here's the exercises you need to do. Here's how to do it. And then you can get really big biceps if you do this, this, and this. And so what's great about this is, even if you're good at building relationships, even if you're bad, it doesn't matter where you're at. If you follow this ROR method process, you're going to be able to open up doors of opportunity. You're going to get people to respond to you that have, it will blow your mind, the things they can do. So where did this all come from? Really quick story. When I was a child, I was kind of a mama's boy. I'd follow my mom around everywhere. And whether it was going to the store to pick out paint or wallpaper for the walls, which is super boring for kids to do, I did everything with my mom. And I remember one day she went to a bank in town and she had a really large check that she needed to cash. And I can't remember what the check was for. It might have been for a client. My dad was an attorney, and it might have been something to do with society. I can't remember. It's insignificant. But back in the 70s, they didn't have computers like they have now. And so when you came in with a large check, if it was over a certain amount, they had to call the other bank and say, hey, I've got this $10,000 check. Is there money in this person's bank account so that we can give the money to this person that's standing in front of me to make sure the check is good? Well, they couldn't get a hold of the person at the bank for some reason. And so they came out and they said, Mrs. Vos, I'm sorry, but there's no one at the other bank to verify that there's funds available for us to cash this check for you. But just a second. Walked around the counter and she went over to the bank manager or the bank president, and they were talking. And I heard the bank president say, for Mrs. Vos, anything. And so she walked around to the counter and she said, Mrs. Vos, we will do this for you. Would you like big bills or small bills? And people are probably asking, well, why did the bank manager risk cashing this large check, knowing that the funds maybe were not available on the other end. It's because of the
Yeah.
relationship that my mom had with the people at the bank. RJ, she would go in at all the holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter. She would drop off holiday presents for everyone. Even not on holidays, she would drop off perfume or a tie for the bank president, or she was always dropping off gifts and doing things for the people at the bank and building a relationship with them so that they knew who my mom was. And so when the time came that she needed help with something or she needed assistance, they were willing to help her. And so I always remember that. And so this thing of return on relationship is something I learned when I was a really young boy, and it has just stayed with me. And some of the interviews that you've seen that we've been doing, and you've seen the relationships that I've been able to build with people, all builds on this foundation. And so I've learned this since I was a kid. And, it's just relationships are the foundation for everything. It's the foundation for business. Everything is built on it. And if you want to go far and go fast, align yourself with really powerful, fast people, and it will amaze you how fast from point A to point B you can go. So it's kind of a long answer, RJ. Sorry about that, but that is where all of this comes from. It goes that far back.
Wow, that's really cool, and that's so true that most people just don't notice how they kind of like build relations, especially in the offline world with other things out there, other places, wherever they go. They just don't realize it. They just don't note it. But on the other side, they're actually like building relations. And like honestly, like how I got to know about you, it was probably last year. So I was talking about like building a relationship, kind of like Dream 100 a lot from 1.5 year, and I was doing that through the process of interviews. I was like, hey, interviews are the best way to actually go and do it, build a relationship because you have certain like time window, pre-interview, post-interview. You have time, quality time to talk and get their attention first of all. So then I got to know about you, and I was like, oh wow, like where I was, like where I was living under the rock, maybe, that I didn't know about you, who you are. So yeah, like that's how I actually got to know about it. And throughout the time, I was fascinated how unique your method was, how unique you were actually building a relationship in every single way. So my next question I want to ask from you is how from trying to build relation, people can go in and transition to friend, because I sometimes they're like trying to build relation, but they don't know the transitioning factor of how they can build a friend with any person out there in general. So what's your thought about that?
That's it's funny when I didn't know what question you were going to ask me. So I'm thinking, what is he going to ask me? What question is he going to ask me? Is he going to stump me? What am I not going to be able to answer this? That's a really good question. And RJ, that's a question that a lot of the people, when they get introduced into my world or they start learning about the ROR method, they ask that question, and it's a really good question. So here's the short answer, and I'll go deeper. The short answer is you don't have to ask.
Hmm.
You don't need to sit there and wonder, where is this relationship at what level is this at? Because, and this is what I mean by that, this is what I mean by you don't have to ask.
Yep.
What's beautiful about return on relationship, what's beautiful about the ROR method, what's beautiful about what I teach is people lean into you. When you do this the right way, when you connect the right way, they will naturally be interested and drawn to you. They will open up the door of opportunity for you. They will reach out to you. I'll give you a small example. I have a really good friend. And it's funny when I talk about these people in the beginning, they weren't friends. In the beginning, there were
Yeah.
people that I didn't know them. They didn't know me. There was no relationship. So when I speak now, at the time, we didn't know each other, but now I have this friend of mine. And in the beginning of the relationship, RJ, I got a text message from this person and they said, Christopher, if you don't tell me what I can do to help you, if you don't let me help you with something, I might unfriend you on Facebook and I might delete you from my phone and you'll never hear from me again. I'm not going to text you ever again. Now,
Wow.
the person was being sort of sarcastic, but there was a thread of seriousness in that says, hey, you have been so kind to me. You have added so much value to me. I want to return the value to you. So here's what I mean by that. There's something called the human factor. People feel morally obligated to return the favor. It's part of people's DNA to say, this person is being so kind to me, and they're not asking for anything. They don't want anything in return. They just genuinely want to show gratitude and interest in me. This makes me feel great. So I go on to this other story. One of the best return on relationships I've ever had in my life is these 9 kids. And I didn't get that return on relationship without an amazing woman, my wife, Jennifer. And so when we were dating, I did nice things for her. I took her to nice places. I got her nice gifts. She knew exactly what I was up to. She knew that I was looking for someone that I wanted to marry. And she knew what I was doing, but she never felt offended. She never felt imposed upon. She never felt like she didn't feel creepy or weird. And I just continued to do these nice things until I was ready to ask the question, hey, will you marry me? And the answer was yes, because I got these 9 kids to prove it. And so that's the same thing with relationships. People usually, you're going to get a vibe and you're going to get a feeling from them that the relationship's at a point that you can say, hey, RJ, I really could use your help with this. Would you mind helping with this? You'd be like, oh, absolutely. Let's hop on a Zoom call. Or, I mean, to put this in value perspective, there's people that I have relationships with and friends with that charge 15, 50, hundreds of thousands of dollars. If you wanted to say, hey, I'd like an hour of your time, or I would like 15 minutes. There's someone that as a friend with that I think charges $15,000 for, a small period of their time. Well, I can send a text message to this person and say, hey, I got a question for you. When do we have a moment we could hop on a Zoom? And be like, absolutely. So the short answer to your question, RJ, is you usually don't have to ask. People usually offer. And when people do offer, it's so wonderful because it makes the relationship even stronger. So what I teach people is so strong and so valuable that you don't really need to worry about when is it a good time to ask. It just happens, and they usually ask for you, which is absolutely beautiful. I've gotten more. I got 2 weeks ago, I got a DM direct mess. I got a DM that said, hey, Christopher, I'd love you to be a part of my 10-person mastermind. And I'm not a name dropper, so I just don't do that. Sometimes it's necessary to say, here's the person. But this person reached out to me and said, I want you to be a part of my mastermind. And it's not going to cost you anything. I'd just like to be a part of it. And those are the return on relationship. You go, wow, this is super cool. So does that answer your question? Sorry, it was long.
100%, like absolutely, it does answer the question. I hope that it clears the confusion around the people who have these kind of thoughts of like how you can actually go in and not make that transaction, but actually make it happen. Just by doing that. So the follow up thing that I have in my mind right now, again around relation, obviously that's the main thing that we are talking about today, is how how just people go in and get out of that mindset which they have that, hey, that person is like, oh my god, out of my reach, out of my level, because people have that boundaries around them that they can't think about. They can see these people and like wish of building a relation, but they just like never overcome their mindset that, hey, it is possible for them to do it. Yeah, because in the past, like before I was doing interviews, I had same thoughts. I was watching these people which changed my life initially. I was like, I wish, I wish, I wish. And then later on, I've been able to do the rest of the things. Same, I don't know, but like that was the same thought you might have. But like I know a lot of people have these exact same thoughts around. I wish I've been able to build a relation with these people out there. How do you think people should come out of their thoughts, or like make themselves in a jail where they can think about, hey, it is possible for you to do it. Doesn't matter on what scale that person is.
I want to share something with your audience that has tremendous amounts of value, and this is something that I teach within the course, and because you're awesome, RJ, and I'm sure your audience is just as awesome as you are. I'm going to share this one thing with you. If from this interview, if anyone that's watching this, if you learn one thing, the most important thing, and I'm going to answer your question, but I just want to say this. The ultimate thing that you want to do, write this down. If you, all those of you are watching this, you want to create an emotional response. If you create an emotional response in the person that you're trying to connect with, it does not matter who it is. It doesn't matter if it's Tony Robbins. It doesn't matter if it's just like you said, RJ. A lot of people think that person's untouchable. I can't reach them. They're too big. I'm too small. They're not going to have time for me. And those are those self-limiting beliefs that people tell themselves all the time. And I love your question so much, because at the symposium coming up in November, I have a speaker that's going to speak directly on this topic. And so on day one of the symposium, and I interviewed her today. Actually, I was on a live interview with her earlier, and her name is Shannon Bussey. And Shannon is going to go really deep into this subject. And she talks about what are the stories that we tell ourselves? What are the things that we tell in our head that holds us back, especially when it applies to building relationships? So the bottom line to your answer to your question is that is completely false. That false thing that people think that person's unreachable, they're too big. And the fact is, bottom line, they are not. And one of the things is people don't do this. Everyone thinks, well, everyone's reaching out to everyone. Or take a really big person and they'll be like, oh, people reach out to them all the time. Now, usually that's not true. People aren't. But if people are reaching out to that person, here's the key thing, RJ. They're not doing it the right way. They're doing it the wrong way. And doing it the wrong way offends them or makes them not want to be interested in you. But if you can create an emotional response and make that anchor point in that person's life, it does not matter how big they are. It doesn't matter how big of an influencer there are. It doesn't matter. You're going to hit that spot in them that just touches them, and they're going to be automatically drawn to you. And so just to say, people have those thoughts, but if you can just say to yourself, hey, I'm human, they're human, we're going to connect on this human level, and I'm going to create an emotional response in this person. I could tell you, literally, RJ, we could be on here for hours. I'm going to tell you, well, I'll give you an example. There's a really famous author called Mark Victor Hansen. He wrote a book called Chicken Soup for the Soul. He's multi, close to billionaire, super amazing individual. There is not anyone on planet Earth that he does not know or have a relationship with. Most published author in the history, world's Guinness Book of Records of published author. And I really was touched by him. He impacted my life. I've read several of his books, not all of his books, but I've read several of his books. And his most recent book called Ask really touched and moved me. It hit me in a spot. And so I reached out to him to legitimately thank him for the impact he had on my life. And I showed gratitude to him and reached out to him, not because I wanted to interview him, not because I wanted him to speak at my symposium. I didn't want anything from him other than saying, Mark, thank you so much for the impact you had on my life. And I sent him a gift, and just to say thank you. And guess what happened? He found my cell phone number from somebody. I don't know where he got it. I don't know. I'm good at finding information out about people. I can find anyone's address and information because that's what I do. I'm the Mr. ROR, the relationship guy. But he found and he called me, and my phone rang, and Mark Victor Hansen's calling my cell phone and thanking me for something I did for him. And now we're friends, and he's speaking at my event and going to add value to my friends that I have relationships with. And so I share that with you, not to be like, woo, look at what I did. I just share with you this is a pretty big influencer. This is a pretty big person. And about less than 30 days, we went from not knowing each other to knowing each other. And so, to sum up my answer to your question, I just ask you, don't think that. And I know it's hard, but it can be addressed. And once you get past that and you realize that anyone is approachable,
Yeah.
just go for it.
Absolutely, 100%. And I talk about it all the time. Like, you have to understand whatever you're doing or however you reaching out to a person on the other side, doesn't matter on what level they are, ultimately they're human. So if they get offended, they're not offended just because of who they are. They're offended just because they're human. They don't like to get, like these type of common messages they get all day long and like nothing new. And they're like, they could get pissed off like just because of it, not because of you, but because of like how they receive the messages. So that humanly interaction is like so much important that some people don't understand. I remember like a couple of weeks back, I was Marley loves food like crazy. Like, she loves food a lot. Like, she loves to cook and like so many things. I was like, hey Marley, have you ever eat biryani? That is like one of our local dish, like with rice and so forth. She's like, nah, but I have to better taste it now. I'm like, you better have to do it now. So it's like it's general conversation how you could have with other people out there that have that relation built up. That is one of the things that most people just don't understand, that you can normalize the process for you and for that other person out there to talk about those things 100%. So let's talk about ROR Symposium. Like, I saw the interview with Russell yesterday. I loved it. One of my favorite interviews that where Russell is a guest, because I believe like one of the favorite interviews because most of the people just talk about journal things that he have the experience on, like either traffic, either funnels. So like I get used to it, and for me as a show host, I get a bit biased because like that's one of the thing is. So talk us about like ROR Symposium, what it is, and yeah.
Thank you so much. I love the opportunity to talk about it, and I'm thankful that you're giving me the opportunity to talk about this because I know how much this is going to change people's lives. I think back to the interview that I had with Russell, and Russell said it himself. He said, "This is something," and he gave a beautiful answer. And thank you for the opportunity to talk about it. So coming up in November 9th, 10th, and 11th, it's a 3-day event. It's a virtual event, so you don't have to
Yeah.
buy a plane ticket. You don't have to get a hotel. You have the best hotel, your house. You have the best food, whatever food you want to make for yourself, and you can sit in your swimsuit, your boxer shorts, a tuxedo, whatever you want to wear. You can sit at this virtual event at your computer, and the testimony, RJ, of does the ROR method work? Does return on relationship? Will return on relationship impact your life? All you have to do is go look at the speakers and look at everyone that's going to be speaking, because every single person that's speaking at the ROR symposium in November is from a return on relationship. It is
Yeah.
somebody that I didn't know them, they didn't know me, but now we're on a level of where we're friends and we do things to help each other. And when I asked these people to speak, the answer from every single person was, I would be honored to be a part of this event. And absolutely 100%, count me in. I'm in. And so I'll, before I forget, I know you'll probably put a link down in the comments, but
Yep.
roruniversity.com/event, roruniversity.com/event. That is where you purchase a ticket. We've got 2 options for people. There's the event. Here's what we're doing for everyone. So you can buy a ticket to the event, or we have a package together where you can buy the ROR method course, where you learn the ROR method, and then you can come to the 3-day event, learn from me and everybody else. And then now you walk away from the symposium with everything you need to be able to build powerful relationships, just like I've been able to build with everyone else. This is teachable. You can learn this. And even if you're even if you're good at building relationships, you don't know what you don't know. And there's a lot of things
Yep.
that there's a lot of things we're going to share. So we have roughly about 30 speakers, all talking about the power of relationships, how to build relationships. And you're going to learn from me, but you're going to learn from people that are some of the best relationship builders on planet Earth. And the proof of that is how successful they are in their businesses. I mean, to keep going back to, you mentioned the interview that you enjoyed with me and Russell. Russell
Yeah,
built a very large company, and not only did he build a large company, but Russell's changing lives. I mean, how many 2 Comma Club winners, how many $1 million funnel winners, how many $10 million funnel winners, 25 million, above 25 million. Well, those dollars mean one thing: lives are being changed. You know, when
yeah.
someone does $1 million in their funnel, that means they sold $1 million of product to somebody, and that product's going to help somebody. So not only are people doing extremely well, but they're changing lives. And that's what it's about: adding value and helping. So please, um, I don't want to make it sound like I'm begging, but I want so badly for people to learn how to build powerful relationships, because you are one person away. You're one relationship away from the person that's going to blow the doors off your business. You know,
Yeah.
that one contact, that one interview, that one collaboration with somebody is going to take your business to the next level. So please come to these 3 days and learn from all the people I've put together that you can learn from. And I know for a fact that your life will be changed forever, and you're going to be the best relationship builder on the planet, along with every single one of us. And you're going to have some fun.
Wow, that's awesome. And yeah, guys, like I have added the link. You know, you could see the link over here. Also on the comment section, also in the show notes, you could, yeah, you could go in and check that out as well and get yourself registered. If if you understand how and why relations are the most important thing, what I really believe is most of the people out there just take the relationship stuff in this online marketing space for granted because the only purpose for them is to make money. And I saw a post that fascinated me a lot like a couple of days back is don't burn your bridges, you know, just for the sake of making money. Some people can make bit money, but they already burned the bridges and now they're unable to, you know, build a relation with them that could be, you know, long term, can have like so much info for both of them. So yeah, guys, just go register for the event out there. Link in the comment section and also in the show notes. Well, thank you so much, Christopher, for being on the show. Any last thing you want to say before we round the show up?
Dig your well before you're thirsty. And that's the best advice I can give you. You know, if if you wait until you're thirsty, if you wait until you need something, or if you wait until you need help with something, or you wait to collaborate later, don't wait. The biggest thing
Yeah,
is to start now. Dig your well before you're thirsty. As Stephen Covey says, begin with the end in mind. And RJ, I want to say this: relationships are a vehicle to wealth. We can't ignore the
yeah,
fact that some bringing two people together has created some phenomenal companies. I mean, we got a little company called Google. Google
yeah.
started out with two friends in a garage. And so you want to think about,
True.
you know, who is that person that you need to team up with? Who is that person that you need to reach? Who is that person you need to get in front of? And dig your well before you're thirsty. And if you build it, there's a really great movie, Field of Dreams, called "If You Build It, They Will Come." If you build it, they will come. I just go back to your question, RJ. How do you know when to ask? Isn't it beautiful if you don't have to ask? Isn't it beautiful if someone comes to you and say, "Hey, RJ, I love all the interviewing that you're doing. How can I be a part of what you're doing? Because I love what you're doing."
Mhm.
You know, that's what you want to do, is
Yeah.
you want people to come to you. So thank you so much, RJ. I'm just honored to be here and be interviewed on your show, and so thankful. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about this. And I want to see all of you at the RO Symposium. Come join us. Come be with us.
Well, yeah, like thank you so much, Christopher. We finally made it happen. Talked about relationships, super fun. You know, one of my favorite topics out there. Well, thank you so much. And again, guys, like go register for it right now. And I will definitely gonna see you guys in the next episode next week. Until then, bye bye.